Game of Thrones once sailed the mountaintops of television while blending modern TV and film. Its 8-season run led to 44 million viewers across the globe, 272 awards out of 757 nominations, 2,000 crew members, and over 12,000 extras. With popularity that grew by the millions each season, even when people began to dislike the late game story, it reached 207 countries across the globe. It was very apparent that the ending of the show was poorly received by fans, the cast, and the crew. Sadly, I didn't watch it in its prime, but I remember the hype around the world of Westeros, and I was able to watch it during its big streaming run. I've since watched the show 2 more times. It was this latest time where I looked at the calendar and I asked myself, after 5 riveting years of television, including knockout shows like Stranger Things, Better Call Saul, Ozark, The Boys, The Mandalorian, The Last of Us, Invincible, and more, does Game of Thrones still sit at the Iron Throne of television? I mean, it's led to spin-offs like House of the Dragon, The Jon Snow Show. Oh, wait, that was canceled. It led to the Arya Stark show. Oh, wait, that was canceled too? Well, House of the Dragon is still really awesome. Anyways, my name is Kel McCall, and you're watching Television Tuesday, presented by Studio 24. And today, we're talking Game of Thrones 5 years later. We'll start where every tale of television does. Season 1, Winter is Coming. Now this is masterclass TV and cinema, baby. We get to meet all the things we love about the show in season 1, and I find that every time I rewatch it, I'm just falling in love all over again. I loved season 1 the first time I watched it, but after knowing the events of the show for so long, going back to the beginning is wonderful. Seeing that it was all so carefully, beautifully written until the end. So many things allude to show you major events that echo throughout the entire 8 seasons. Ned's character arc, King Robert, the mystery of Jon Arryn, Jon Snow's origin, Jaime and Cersei's love story, Sansa and Arya's survival plots, and Dany's return to Westeros. Khal Drogo dies and her dragons are born. All of these events are presented at a wonderfully smooth pace, but they also echo throughout the entire show. Season 1 of Game of Thrones is the ultimate hook and thesis statement for me. I watched it for the first time and said this is a 10 out of 10, and I still say that today. Rest in peace, Ned Stark. The North remembers. Now we move on to Season 2, A King Rises in the North. Season 2 deals with Tyrion's amazing Hand of the King arc. Still one of my favorites in the shows. Robb's reign as king in the North begins. You have Craster's Keep, Shae and Tyrion's story, Marjorie's introduction with Renly, the War of 5 Kings. Jon's arc behind the wall begins. Stannis sails to King's Landing and we get the Battle of the Blackwater, and that's truly the first big action set and big action scene that we get. And the Battle of Blackwater is unforgettable. Such an awesome scene. I love what Season 2 builds off of from Season 1. I think this is a really strong progression of the show. Season 3, A King Falls in the North. This show is ultimately a tragedy. We see Samwell warn the Wall of White Walkers, Jon meets Mance Rayder when he leaves Castle Black, Dany gets the Unsullied, Ramsay captures Theon, Reek now, Jaime talks to Brienne about the Mad King in the hot tub after losing his hand, he saves Brienne, Tyrion and Sansa marry, Samwell kills a White Walker, Jon escapes the Wildlings, and we witness the events of the Red Wedding. This is ultimately the second time the show breaks my heart. Robb Stark is set up to be essentially the next Ned. Seeing this just backfire so harshly, not only does he die, his soon-to-be wife, his unborn baby, his mother, we ultimately see the Starks just get dicked here. Season 4, A New King. This is the last season that I really think is on par with the first 3. Seasons 1 through 4 are pretty close to a masterpiece for me. The Reek plot is strange. We meet Oberyn Martell and eventually see him battle to the death with the Mountain in an amazing scene in season 4. Dany begins her releasing the slaves arc when she sets all of the slaves free in Meereen in this awesome scene where they are launching the restraints back into the city. I really like this every time I watch it. It's a very empowering scene. When I go back and think about this, I'm really thrown off by the Mad Queen arc later on. You have Joffrey's death, and this is a moment that fans are just pretty much waiting on. As soon as he takes over from King Robert, you know this little kid's gonna die. Kind of catapults us back into the Game of Thrones. Sansa escapes with Littlefinger due to this. Tommen marries Marjorie. This is some of the highlights of the Arya and the Hound traveling plot that goes on for a while. Ultimately, that's a dynamic I just love throughout the show. Season 5 and 6, the downhill slope starts. I still love aspects of seasons 5 and 6. I've kind of grouped them together here because I feel like they're on about the same exact playing field for me. There's still tons of great stuff. Ultimately, I see the beginning of the end here. The Boltons have Winterfell. Theon helps Sansa escape the Boltons. Arya's plot stays fairly weird yet entertaining in Bravos. The Faceless Man and becoming nobody. Jon Snow's death and resurrection are pretty cool. This is actually kind of where the books end, and I'm interested to see where that's picked up at. Brienne getting revenge for Renly is cool, but ultimately it's kind of a lame way to see Stannis go. Tyrion makes his way to Daenerys when he's captured by Ser Jorah. This is a super fun dynamic we have going on until Ser Jorah gets grayscale. Really kind of throws his character's plot out the window and his story becomes Survive for a little bit. And then we have one of the most awaited things happen in these seasons, and that's Sansa reuniting with Jon Snow. I really didn't think this would happen at Castle Black, but because of her trying to escape Winterfell, it ends up being an awesome scene, and it's just great to see two of the Stark kids back together. This ends up leading us to the Battle of the Bastards, where we get Ramsay versus Jon. And this is so cool. I love the Battle of the Bastards, and I know there are complaints about Sansa not telling Jon about Littlefinger and the Knights of the Vale and them just kind of rolling up and saving Jon, but Jesus, this scene's so cinematic. I love watching the shot where Jon is being charged and he raises his sword. That is so cool. But possibly my favorite thing about this little arc of the show is it ends that damn High Septon plot. I got so bored during this. Through most of my watch throughs, I don't know, it's something like, Tommen and Marjorie are great characters. Neither of them have a lot of pizzazz. They just kind of end up being two characters who are potentially a little boring to watch in a High Septon plot that kind of comes out of nowhere, and that Cersei starts and then ends by blowing up the Sept. So ultimately, I'm just kind of glad to see us move past this arc. One of the last things I'll say that I do love about this is the season 6 ending with what we've been waiting for 6 seasons, that being Daenerys arriving in Dragonstone, and then Tyrion coming with her and she says, "Let's begin." Dude, that's so cool. And you know, along with the High Septon plots, a couple other plots I'm not that into are Ramsay killing his father, just the whole Boltons and Winterfell in general. It makes for an awesome story for Jon and Sansa to go get Winterfell back, but the Boltons are just annoying. Just some scum of the earth. Brienne and Podrick standing outside of Winterfell waiting for a candle in a tower for an entire season is goofy as hell. And so is Euron's plot and character, truly. And I've heard he's cooler in the books, and by all means, I have no clue why they took him in this direction here. Like I said, season 5 and 6 just kind of starts this downhill slope where everything you're seeing is not as awesome as it once was. Season 7. Winter is here. When I first watched Season 7 without knowing the ending of the show, I was blown away. A first-time experience for Season 7 where you're just watching all the plots you love interweave into this one grand plot. You finally feel like we are arriving at where we've been going the entire time. My first reaction was insane to this. 5 years later, I look back and it's really just not that grandiose anymore knowing where it leads. Although Season 7 still carries a lot of magic for me, the signs of the show going downhill are definitely there. The great things that hide the bullshit writing include Arya killing Littlefinger, amazing. Samwell and Bran piecing together Jon's Targaryen bloodline. Arya murdering House Frey. Cersei wants war but allows the North to fight the undead. This is a cool scene where they bring a zombie down to King's Landing. Cersei is ultimately terrified by it. Her plot is to just let the undead dwindle down the North's forces so she has an easily won war. Jon arriving in Dragonstone to meet Daenerys. This starts out rough. You're kind of like, oh, I'm rooting for both of these characters, but they're not getting along very well. And Daenerys is not very open to allowing him to be king of the North. She kind of sees him as an usurper. This is rough until they start getting along, and then they start falling in love. We get some interesting stuff there. Arya returns to Winterfell in an extremely amazing scene where the guards don't believe it's her, so she's able to walk right through, and when Sansa finds her, she's just kind of like, maybe you need better guards. Love that scene. We have a couple more awesome things that happen in Season 7. The fight on the ice with Jon, the Hound, a roster of other characters who are surrounded by the undead here. You have Benjen saving Jon, and Jon getting to see his uncle one last time. Ser Davos smuggling Tyrion into King's Landing makes for a fun scene where Ser Davos has moved past the smuggling lifestyle, but he's still able to use his old skills to assist the North. I'm really into this. The stuff that really grinds my gears when it comes to Season 7 are things like Sansa's damn attitude when Daenerys rolls up. This kind of just echoes throughout the show. I would say Daenerys shows up and Sansa's character shuts down. She no longer wants to do anything with Daenerys until the moment where she's like, hey, even though Daenerys is dead and Bran is king in Season 8, I still want to just take the North for myself. I don't understand the direction they take her character in. Pretty much just have her complain and disapprove of everything. She hides things from Jon. I loved her. And I even love that she's the one that ends up with the North at the end. Of course, in Season 7, Euron is annoying again. He gets more annoying the more he thinks sleeping with Cersei is a possibility, I swear. Cersei and the Super Mountain get on my damn nerves. They just kind of walk around and act like they own the place. And, you know, I guess Cersei's queen now, but Cersei's queen arc is just one of those things that just pisses you off every time you see it. One of the dumbest things that happens in Season 7 is Daenerys losing a dragon after Tyrion had just told her, hey, when you fly through here, there's a chance we'll run into the Iron Fleet.
Euron's ships could be anywhere, or in more than one place. He'd be flying around the open seas alone.
And then Daenerys forgets about the Iron Fleet and literally loses a dragon because of it. This is something the showrunners say out loud on camera.
While Dany kind of forgot about the Iron Fleet and Euron's forces.
After all of this, Daenerys forgets about the Iron Fleet. That's insane. That is some of the worst writing in a good TV show I've potentially ever seen. That's unforgiven. I'm not one who likes to hate on people who make TV and film because I know how hard it is. But how the hell do you drop the ball like that? Season 8. What the hell did I just watch? You cannot convince me that this is how the book will end. King Bran the Broken is some of the dumbest shit I've ever seen. let's rewind back to seasons 5 and 6. And even like just the middle era of the show. We completely stop following Bran and Rickon for a little bit. And then Rickon is just kind of told to piss off with the wildling girl and then comes back just to die. Bran's three-eyed raven arc is weird as hell, and we just kind of end up with King Bran the Broken. This is one of those things I like, that Tyrion ends up being his hand, and they're kind of on this agreement that like, yeah, neither of us wanted to do this, so we're in it together. I'm just not into it. It works out because he knows everything, and you're like, truly, who could be a better king than that? But truly, I don't think Bran deserves to be king. After what all the other characters in the plot went through, this is not earned whatsoever. Yeah, he has Hodor carry and push him across the north to get above the wall and learn the secrets of being the three-eyed raven, I guess. But really unsatisfying to see all the characters go through what they went through just to end up with King Bran the Broken. I really hope this isn't how the book ends, or I hope there's a whole lot more to it, because I know there are some really fun theories that surround Bran, the Night King, the three-eyed raven, and the whole entire end of the show. But book Bran's a whole lot different, so I guess we'll see. And then we'll talk about Daenerys' Mad Queen arc for just a second. This is something that is maybe revealed to us a couple times throughout the show, when she kills the masters, she kills all the old calls. She has moments where she kind of snaps throughout the show, but not very many. Like I said earlier, I think back to Meereen, where she's just freeing people and kind of walking through and loving the people that she had just freed, and they're loving her. It's this arc that really conflicts itself, truly, and I would have been down with the Mad Queen arc had season 7 and 8 not be shortened, and potentially we go for a 9 and 10 and kind of draw this plot out and give us the ooey gooey detail that we were given in the first 4 seasons. Like, we don't get action very often in the first 4 seasons. It's totally earned. Yet the Mad Queen arc just kind of serves as this way to give you a ton of action at the end of the show, I feel like, and have this big battle of King's Landing. But I would have been down for it, truly, had they progressed her to be the Mad Queen. I just think, in this sense, she hears the bells ringing, the surrender is already over, and she just kind of full sends into tearing down King's Landing, and it doesn't make a ton of sense to me. We get the scene where Jon Snow kills her. I'm really not even mad at this, because she just took down all of King's Landing. They take this character that they made me love for seasons, and I don't give a damn when she dies. I think this is tragic, just in terms of viewership. I hate not caring about Daenerys at the end, because I truly loved her throughout the show. And then, just one more qualm I have with the end of the show. Why the hell do they let Grey Worm make any decisions after her death? Yeah, they get him to just piss off and go to their own land, but Grey Worm is the one who's like, no, we have to do something with Jon Snow, so we end up sending him back to the Wall. So Jon Snow gets every bit of his progression wiped away. It was already happening in the writing anyways, when all he says is, I don't want it, and you're my queen. I guess completely character wiping was what they were going for, but man, this is tragic, because Jon Snow had just got out the mud. You have other things that are kind of pitifully written, like Jaime also kind of character wiping, reverting back to season 1 and leaving the North to go be with Cersei again. This is infuriating. How about Arya teleporting across the battlefield to kill the Night King? It's just all of these moments that are semi-lazy. Putting all of the women and children down in a crypt while we're being attacked by the undead. Really lazy writing is going on here. I just don't get it. I don't know. Season 8 doesn't ruin the show for me because I love the journey so much, but damn, I would have liked to enjoy the ending too. So 5 years later, ultimately when I watch the show, it's not about the chase for the Iron Throne anymore, because I know that shit's gonna be gifted to Bran the Broken. It is more about the journey and adventure that the characters go on through Westeros now. It truly is about the characters that you grow and love. I mean, there are characters that will remain in my heart forever and be some of my favorite characters TV and film have ever given me, because I got to spend so many quality hours with them in the beginning of the show. I think about Ned, Jon, Daenerys, Arya, Sansa, Robb, Tyrion, Jaime, Bronn, the Hound, King Robert, Stannis, Sir Davos, Samwell, Ser Jorah. Even the characters you love to hate. Cersei, Joffrey, Ramsay, the Mountain, Lord Bolton, Lord Frey, and more. These are characters that are given so much detail and dynamics that they bounce off of things so naturally. It really puts them in a really warm place in your heart, and I'll remember these characters forever. I truly love them. I can't name another show that has a character list this important and dynamic. Game of Thrones does sit on the Iron Throne of TV characters for me, I'll say that. I want to go over some fun theories that have since surfaced since the ending of the show. Some of these I really like, some of them I don't care too much about. Ned warging into a bird before death is really cool. This means that Ned would have witnessed the entire show through the eyes of a bird, which is pretty cool. Bran warging into the Night King is a possible theory. It's kind of this evil Bran theory as well that surfaces from that. Some of my favorite theories, however, include Drogon at the end. Drogon takes Daenerys to be resurrected by Kinvara in Volantis. This is a plot that we're introduced to in season 7, either 6 or 7. Daenerys meets this woman that kind of reminds us of the Red Woman. It's a popular theory that potentially Drogon took Daenerys here to be resurrected after the events of the show. Who knows? Another popular theory is that Drogon takes Daenerys to Old Valyria. We see a dragon flying above Old Valyria when Ser Jorah and Tyrion are passing through, and it would have been really cool for Daenerys to be taken to her ancestral home and buried there. There's also a really cool parallel here, because this does have Daenerys find home, which she's been searching for the entire show. So she ends up not finding her home in Westeros, but is taken back to Old Valyria to be buried. This is probably my favorite theory on the list. And then it's also a popular theory that Rhaegal and Viserion would have been able to lay eggs together in the catacombs in Meereen or in Dragonstone before their deaths. So it's possible that the dragons that Daenerys had could have laid eggs like we see in House of the Dragon, and there could potentially be future dragons still in Westeros after this, after just Drogon. The future of the show and series, obviously people are still waiting on books to come out. Hopefully we do get to see the series ended. I really hope old George R.R. Martin can pull through there. And, we have House of the Dragon coming out, which is an amazing show. I think it's probably the best live action show on television right now, so definitely, if you're a huge Game of Thrones fan and haven't brought yourself to check out House of the Dragon yet, you have to. It expands on the same magic that Westeros brings, but just gives you characters that are reminiscent of the old ones, but ultimately you just kind of fall in love with all over again, and the drama is insane. So definitely go check out House of the Dragon. There are always talks of other shows. There have been talks of Aegon the Conqueror. There have been talks of the Arya and the Jon show. After House of the Dragon, I have no clue if we'll ever get another Game of Thrones spinoff. Because House of the Dragon's doing so well and Game of Thrones was such a heavily watched show, I can only imagine they'll continue to do more and that there is no worry there. We have nothing announced yet, so let's just hope for more Westeros content coming on the way. This has been Television Tuesday, Game of Thrones, 5 years later. Thank you so much for watching. We hope you'll come back for Television Tuesday. We've done an episode on Invincible, X-Men 97, Avatar The Last Airbender, and we've got plenty more coming for you. I'm going to be hitting House of the Dragon before Season 2 comes out, so definitely stay tuned for that. We have Studio Cinema Saturday, where we cover movies. We have our short films. This is our own narrative content where we're getting to tell our stories. So we hope you'll go check out some of that over at Studio 24, and I'll see you there.